Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I am here with the Cascade Copper team. I'm your host, Nicole, here to guide everyone through the next hour or so. I am joined here by Jeff Acker. He's president and CEO. Welcome, Jeff.
Yes, thank you very much, Nicole, for being here. I look forward to talking with everyone.
Me as well. So for everyone who's on the line today, Jeff will be doing a presentation of his corporate deck. Then we'll come back and answer some of your questions from the live chat here. The chat box is on the side of your screen, so feel free to throw in questions throughout the presentation. Once Jeff's all wrapped up, I'll come back in and we'll get to them. This is a live broadcast, so a replay will be made available shortly after we're done here. So if you missed anything, loop back onto the website and we'll have everything there for you. For anyone who is watching on the replay, if you do have any questions for Jeff, you can go ahead and head over to their website. The Contact Us page has a form there. You can go ahead and submit your questions there, and he'll get back to you personally. So all of that housekeeping out of the way, I'm going to hand it over to you, Jeff, and then I'll come back at the end and we'll go over some questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. I might as well just dive right into this right away. Before I get started in the technical aspects of the company and the assets, just give you a little history on the company itself. Recently listed on the CSE with an IPO back in April of 2023. So just over 2 years old right now. We were very successful in our IPO financing. We raised over $1 million and have been using that for our exploration on our projects. So what I'd like to do now is just go through. There will be some forward-looking statements in this presentation, so keep that in mind. Because we're just a young company and we've just started and only 2 years old, we've been very cognizant about how to reduce and maintain our tight share structure. So dilution for us is a concern. So we've tried to keep financings at a reasonable amount so that the dilution doesn't happen right away and upfront. We'd like to sort of spread that out over many, many years. So you can see right now that we've only got about 37 million shares outstanding. We've just closed a tranche on a financing, so it's a little slightly higher than that, about 40 million. So it's still very, very small share capital. Warrants and options, not that many out. Our market cap is a bit small at the moment, 1.5 million shares and our insider ownership is about 23%. So we've got lots of skin in the game. Our team, just a quick rundown of who's who in our management and board. Myself, just a quick background on me. I've been a geologist for a lot of years, over 40 years. Cut my teeth in Canada and then did a lot of work in Africa, West Africa, and East Africa, gold and copper. We did some work with a couple of companies in the Caribbean and in South America. Shannon, I've known him for many years. He's worked with me on other companies and other projects. Excellent geologist. He's our VP of Exploration. Yannicka out of Vancouver is our CFO. She's fractional CFO, so we share her costs with other companies, so it keeps the burn rate down. Our other directors, Darcy is in Calgary. He's a geologist, but also running another company called Ashley Gold. Allison, former premier of Alberta, and really good with First Nations issues, so great member of our board. And Sam Greer, who has been involved in the capital markets for 30, 40 years. So excellent director and board of directors that we have. Great team to support the company. Now, one of the things when any company has to go out and decide, okay, where are we going to go? What are we going to look for? What jurisdictions? It's something that, we really thought about before we even started the company, and we've stuck to our agenda. And really what we wanted was focus on copper, but also focus in Canada. Canada is a safe jurisdiction. We really wanted to work in Canada for a number of reasons. Obviously, the rules don't change. Some other places in the world, you have to worry about that. But in Canada, you don't. And the other thing that we like about the Canadian infrastructure and environment here is the fact that you have access to flow-through capital, flow-through shares, which is a really strong incentive for investors to come in and get involved, but also helps us to get on the ground and do exploration with that kind of money. So, and obviously the geology is important too. So we've gone through and checked and see where the best geology in each of these jurisdictions are. So a quick overview of all the projects. And we'll go through each one of these during the presentation today. In British Columbia, we have 4. Copper Plateau, it's copper moly porphyry system. Rogers Creek, again, another copper gold moly system. Fire Mountain, another porphyry system. Bendor is more of an epithermal system. We'll go through some of the details as we go through the presentation. And we do have one project in Ontario, which is a VMS banded iron formation style, but again, copper, but also gold and silver related. So now we'll dig deeper into some of these projects. Now in British Columbia, as I said, we've got the 4 projects, and this is a location map, and it just shows where we are with each one of them. Vancouver, obviously everybody knows where that is. And if you go up the valley, sort of up from the Vancouver up towards Whistler and around the top into Pemberton, our projects are down. These 2 projects are down the Lillooet Valley, south of Pemberton, and the Bendor project is up near the Goldbridge area. Talisker has got a operating or near operating mine in that area, so we'll look at that a bit later. And Copper Plateau, which is a relatively new acquisition for us. About a year ago, we put that in the portfolio, and it's south of Kelowna, but between Penticton and Princeton, in a very good prolific area. So we'll talk a bit more about that as we go through this. So why did we pick this area specifically for copper? Well, if you look and see what other mines are in the area, and also prospects and so on, but you look at this belt of rock that comes up from Washington State, comes up through British Columbia and goes up towards Alaska, and you can see some of the significant mines in the area. Taseko's New Prosperity Mine, over 1 billion tons of copper resource. Teck's Highland Valley, just a little bit outside of the belt here, but still in the same area, 1.2 billion tons. Copper Mountain, which is a Hudbay project, again, over 1 billion tons of copper or of ore. So you can see why we're here. I mean, when you've got that much copper being developed and mined in the area, you're in the right spot. So we really, really like this area. So we'll start with Rogers Creek. Rogers Creek is the one just closest to Pemberton. We've got a lot of data on this particular project. It was one that we used as a qualifying project when we took the company public 2 years ago. So there was quite a bit of data, a little bit of work done, but never really been properly drilled. There was some drilling that was done historically back in 2010, 2011, but certainly it was done before a lot of the work that we have now available to us had been done. So it was a bit of a stab in the dark. So we've got some really excellent looking targets developed for this particular project, and we'll show you some of the areas that we would like to drill. This is sort of why we like the area and what makes it such a great project. Well, road access is number 1. Hydroelectricity is number 2, and closeness to water, year-round water is obviously very important if we get to the stage of development. So all these factors make it an excellent project, but even more so is the geology. So we've got some airborne geophysics, we've got some IP, we've got some soil sampling, and we've taken all of this data and we put it into our database, and we've done a lot of modeling. And what we've come up with really is this area here. We call it target number 1. You can see it's sort of this is a magnetic map, so it shows a magnetic low surrounded by a magnetic high. And after we've modeled that, we come up with a really good, this is a bit of a cartoon, but it really tells us maybe what's happening here. And as you can see, some of the drilling that's been done in the past is sort of willy-nilly kind of all around, but it gave us hints. There was copper and gold in the area. And what I'd like to do is show you the next slide here. This is a three-dimensional view looking up the valley. The blue line here is Rogers Creek. and those contour lines are showing the edge of the valley. And you're seeing a lot of these high copper values in the soil sampling, and also in the rock sampling. And see, some of the numbers that we're getting on surface are quite astounding. Some of the drill holes that were done in the past are here. And if I show you the next slide here, this is sort of a result of all the three-dimensional and inversion modeling that we've done on all the data. We brought it all together and we said, okay, what does it look like beneath the surface? So this is our sort of modeling that shows what is happening underneath the mountain. And so we've stripped away the surface. We've just looked at the magnetics and the IP and some of the drilling. And we basically come up with more or less a rendition of what an ore body could look like here based on the IP chargeabilities. And the IP chargeability tells us where the metal is. So this is our target area. And then our next slide really gives us a better idea of what we're looking at here. So now we're looking through the mountain and we're looking at the chargeability areas, and then the higher chargeabilities are the red areas, and those are the targets that we're ready to drill. So drilling is imminent. We've got road access. These brown lines are the roads that go up and down the mountain. The area has been forested, so it's easy access, so we can drive right to that site. So that's a great drilling target that's ready to go. Our other project now that we're really is sort of high priority on our list is what we call Copper Plateau. And it's the one that's between Princeton and Penticton. Penticton is just over here. You can see Kelowna. I'll just show you this. This is Kelowna is here. Princeton is here. So it's in the southern part of British Columbia. And it's, again, it's close to, operating mines and some really good prospects that are being developed right now. So I draw your attention to Copper Mountain mine, which is here, 1.13 billion. The old Brenda copper mine, which is in this area here, and it's closed now, but it had some really good copper and moly. And the moly is interesting because we're finding a lot of molybdenum or moly associated with our Copper Plateau project. You can also see the Craigmont mine, which is up in here near Merritt. And then again, I mentioned earlier about Teck's Highland Valley copper mine, which is up here. It's probably Canada's largest copper mine as far as production is concerned. So we're in a great area here. So I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Copper Plateau as we go through this. We acquired this project, like I said, about a year ago. We've got a lot of historic data, and we've basically compiled it, ready to get on the ground and do some more work on it this year in 2025. Now, this is quite a colorful map that you're seeing here, and I'll just highlight the yellow that you're seeing here is basically IP chargeability, and it was done historically, but we've turned it into a three-dimensional image, and I'll show you where that is further on. And what also we've got here is the purple area that you see here and underneath is actually an inversion of the magnetics that we've taken from the surface. And that's telling us a lot. And I'll go into a bit more detail on that, what it means as we go further. And then the dots that you see here are, sorry, let's get rid of that. The dots that you see here are the soil geochemistry. And you can see that there's some trends here. And I'll show you what those mean and some further maps of the area here. So let's continue on. So like I said, there has been quite a bit of historic data and some drilling in the past. And the number here, ISO 8 or ISO 6 and ISO 8, indicate that that was the year that was drilled. So 2006, 2008. Stunning numbers. If you look at some of these numbers, now the red highlights are giving us copper equivalency, which is a combination of the copper, moly, gold, and silver within the system. So as an example here, I mean, this interval is a bit narrow, but we've got some very good numbers over 12 meters or more. And even maybe more significant is the fact that almost the entire length of the hole had mineralization in this case here. And we're seeing that in a lot of the holes. For instance, 384 or 391 meters here. We've got 179 meters here, 303 meters here. So you can see that the entire hole in these highlights here are completely mineralized. And then on top of that, you've got some very good significant intervals with some high-grade copper equivalency. And then on the map on the left-hand side here, you can see that we've got, and I think the significance here in this map is not only do we have a really strong concentration of plus 1% copper equivalency. That's pretty stunning, considering that Teck is mining 0.23 copper. So here we've got copper over 1% right at surface. So not only is that significant, but also at depth, we're seeing some very interesting numbers at depth that were never followed up. So this is giving us a lot of incentive to get in there and do some drilling in 2025. So let's continue on here, and we'll tell you a little bit more about the project. Target areas, again, like I said, down dip and down plunge from some of the deeper holes that intersected copper mineralization. And when I say deep, I mean this is like probably 250 to 300 meters below surface. So really not that deep in the sense of what porphyries are. These porphyry systems can go for quite a ways at depth. But we've also got targets near surface that we'd like to follow up on. And then, if you recall, I mentioned that soil geochemistry in that first map that we showed you on Copper Plateau. Well, there's areas that seem to have some very good mineralization, but have never really been followed up properly. All the drilling that you saw in these maps here, so this drilling here that we're seeing in this cross section is only from this small area right in this area right here, which we call the main mineralized zone. So you can see there's lots of potential for a long strike and a long trend mineralization. So these are areas that we really, really would like to follow up with in 2025. And one way we're going to do that is with some on-the-ground geophysics, including IP, sampling and mapping, just walking the ground, as well as rock sampling, and eventually get in to do some drilling. And drilling would be based on these target areas that you see on this map on the left-hand side. So what have we found there? This is from prospecting and mapping last year, 2024. Extraordinarily high numbers, like 11.5% copper, quite high moly, gold, and silver, in a new area that has never been uncovered before. So we really like the potential of Copper Plateau, and can't wait to really get in and do some work on that. Now we're going to hop back quickly to Fire Mountain. It's a really early stage project, but it's in the same area as Rogers Creek. So we see a lot of similarities as far as porphyry systems, potential mineralization. But we've done some work on the ground there, and I'll quickly go through this and just show you some of the numbers that we've picked up. In text here, at least we can show you some of the higher numbers of gold, copper, and silver. Lots of areas with mineralization that is quite incredible. And as a plan map now, looking at the property, we've done LiDAR imagery, we've done geophysics, we've done surface sampling and mapping, but no drilling has been done on this area yet. It's historically has never seen a drill hole. And you can see that we've got lots of zones here. They're almost too numerous to mention, but our focus is on this area here, which we call the Inferno Zone. I'll just highlight that area. So the Inferno Zone goes along here. We've done a lot of sampling in this area here, but we see similarities in the magnetics and the geology along strike of that area. Another interesting area, which we haven't spent a lot of time on, but historically, it's a gold system that was mined early on, probably in the late 1800s, early 1900s, but with some really high grade gold in that area. And what's interesting too is that new forestry areas and access is coming up the mountain. So we're getting very close to our money spinner area with road access. So we can't wait to get in there and have a look at that. So this is sort of lower priority, but we'd like to get work on that, do some more trenching, or sorry, sampling and mapping and potential trenching in the area. Again, Inferno Zone is our #1 area within the Fire Mountain project area. This is just a picture of the area. There's no trees. It's fairly high elevation. It's glaciated, so it's been scraped clean, and access to the rocks and sampling is very quite good. Historic samples, I don't think we'll go through this too much, but again, this was the focus around that Inferno Zone that we ended up with some really good numbers. 4.7 grams of gold and 5.5 grams of gold. So some really good gold numbers coming out of this as well. But it is a porphyry model, so we're seeing copper and gold with a bit of silver in this area. So our next project that I'd like to talk about is the one in Ontario. And this is located between Dryden. Let me just highlight this for you so you can see Dryden here on the lower left and Sioux Lookout in the upper right. And what we like about this area is obviously the geology, but also access. You can drive right through. There's a high tension power line that goes right through the project, which is fantastic. It does limit some of the geophysics we do because of the interference, but nonetheless, the access is fantastic. And the other thing too, again, who else is in the area? Who else is working? Well, we've got several other deposits. This one is the most significant gold Lund deposit, almost 1 million ounces, in the Goliath, over 1 million ounces. And that's run by Next Gold Mining. Dryden Gold is in the area too. That's one of their projects is here. And Heritage Mining is up to the north here. I'll just show you where Heritage is. Heritage is in this area. So that's important. And then Ashley Gold, which is run by one of our directors, is sitting in here. So very good gold system. We're outside of that gold system, but we do have gold and copper, and that's why we're here. There's more of a copper-rich zone up in this particular area. So I'll give you some more details on that as we go through this. So it was a historic area. We really like the jurisdiction because of Ontario. We can get Ontario flow through, and the mineralization at surface is quite impressive. And we've ended up getting some excellent numbers from copper, gold, and silver in this area. You can see here up to 2.5% copper, 1.25 or 1.215 grams per ton gold. So some really nice material on surface. We did some trenching, and you'll see the numbers here. Maybe a little bit hard to read at this scale, but nonetheless, we've got some excellent copper, gold, and silver coming out of this particular area. And this area that you see on the left map is coming from this particular area here. And what we really like about Centerfire is the fact that it's in this formational conductor and iron formation trend that continues from the main zone all the way along and up through the entire length of our property. And that's 4 kilometers here, plus another 8 kilometers up to the northeast. So huge amount of potential for new discoveries based on what we know about this main Gossan zone. Next, let's clear that and get rid of that. Our Bendor, which is our last one we'll talk about today, and it's a more gold-centric project. It's north of Pemberton, and as I mentioned earlier, it's next to the Talisker project, Talisker's Braylorn project. So they've discovered and basically outlined 1.6 million ounces of 6.3 grams per ton gold. So very, very good. They're progressing underground, and they should probably be making a decision for mining anytime now. So our Bendor project is in the same area and has similar attributes to what they see at Braylorn. The bit of surface sampling and mapping has been done on the surface here. We've got basically 3 or 4 zones, and we know that there's underground workings in the area. So this target is a bit different from our copper porphyry systems, but we see it, especially with the gold prices these days, that it could have some good legs to it. So we'll try to get some work done on that this year. So one of the things that we've adopted, and sort of shifting away from the assets now and talking about, okay, how do we manage all the data? How do we, target things? And we have the ability now, and we're very lucky to have that, is, I hate to say it, but AI is really useful for our type of business. When we're basically collecting so much data, how do you manage all of that data, and how do you do your interpretation? So what we've decided to do, and we're working with a third party to develop this, is taking that AI system and taking it right to the field level. So in the field exploration, we're collecting data on a daily basis. And what we're doing is we're compiling it and sending it to the cloud, where it's put into a database that helps us interpret it, but also predict where the best areas are to follow up with the data that we've got so far. So it's quite an innovative technique. A lot of companies are using AI and saying, okay, here's all this data. We'll do a one-shot deal. We'll give you some results, and then you go and work with them. But what we're doing is we're doing it every day. So every day our model is being developed and being modified to adapt to what's in the field at that particular point. So we can take, as you can see in this slide here, we can take soil, rock, and core data that we're collecting information on a daily basis from XRF machines, from hyperspectral machines that are giving us alteration information, magnetic susceptibility, any digital information that we can acquire in the field, and geology and so on. We can throw that into a portal that sends it up to the cloud. In the cloud, then we have a predictive model that looks at all the data, compares it to what we've had in the past, but also to other models, and then basically sends us back almost in near time where they would predict more of the similar kinds of mineralization, alteration, geology that we should go and look at. So I think what the bottom line is here, and you can see it really on the bottom line of this slide, is it saves us time, it saves us money, and it increases the chances of discovery in real time. So it's a great system that we're working with. Now, the next 2 slides are sort of the schematic of how this works, and I won't spend too much time on it, but basically what you're doing is you're taking your existing data. Sorry, let's get that going. You're taking your existing data, which is up here. You're running it in through sort of a machine learning system. You built a database, and you put all your parameters inside. And then on the other side of this, you're actually getting your information from your field crews, and they're throwing it into a third-party software system that compiles it, but also does the quality control. It sends it into the cloud, and then basically overnight or within hours, basically, it compares it to what you've had before and compares it to what your model is for your copper porphyry systems or your VMS systems. And then basically what it's doing is it's sending you out a predictive model of where you would expect to find similar things or better than what you've already got. It basically models it based on all the information that you've got so far. So it's really a powerful tool. And not only is it powerful if you're back home and at your desk, but we can use it in the field. And this is the innovation, I think, is having that available at the field level. So this is basically telling you what information that we would bring in initially. All this information, especially at places like Copper Plateau and at Rogers Creek, we've got so much information. We're taking that in as our base. Then we're bringing in field related data, which is either from XRF or from hyperspectral data, either NIR or SWIR, and bringing that in and using all of that information to help us find the next new discovery. So we're employing that in the field in 2025 on a couple of our projects. So looking forward to seeing that, the fruition come out from all of that. So what's happening next? Well, moving forward, we're basically trying to grow the company. We've got assets that have great potential. We're getting on the ground and doing work this year. And with the innovation that we're developing is bringing stuff and discovery quicker than normally what we would have seen if we hadn't used it. So, and with that, I'll just leave this up here as sort of our final slide. If you have any questions, you can give me a call or you can email me. Our website is at the bottom there. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. So Nicole, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your presentation today, Jeff. I do want to get into some questions that I had, and we'll, again, take everyone's live questions as well. Just keep putting them through the chat. First and foremost, you have 5 projects, 4 BC, 1 in Ontario. With so many active projects in the portfolio, how are you prioritizing exploration and development? And what factors are kind of top of mind with that decision-making process?
Yeah, it's a good question. And when you have that many projects, you do have to prioritize. And what we've decided within our team is that we'd like to focus the highest priority on those projects that have the best ability to give us high priority drill targets, basically. So keeping that in mind, we're really prioritizing Copper Plateau this year and Centerfire. And those are the ones that we believe have the best ability for some great intersections from drilling. So it's not to say that we're not spending any time or effort on the other projects, but we're building those up gradually to fill in, the information we need to make decisions on targeting. So the 2 projects, Copper Plateau and Centerfire, are top priority for us.
Okay. Now, focusing on Copper Plateau for a second here, you did recently get a compilation of historical data, which did show those high-grade intersections like you just mentioned. When you're looking at that information and you're making those decisions, what stood out most to your team? What's making you go in that route, go in that direction?
Yeah, well, Copper Plateau, we're lucky that we've got all that historic data. If you can imagine, if we were to go out and spend the money to get that data, organically, it would probably be $10 million or more. So we're lucky that we have that. So when we reviewed that historic data and put that compilation together, and especially putting it into a 3-dimensional model, it really showed us the corroboration, I guess what you call it, between all of the aspects of the exploration to date. So when we started seeing, the geochemistry sitting really next to the higher chargeability and the magnetic depletion in our models, and they all seem to correspond very close. And then with the historic drilling, seeing that the high-grade copper and moly was in those areas as well. So it really gave us the confidence that we can go in there and find more of the same. So I think that was really the key point there, was that when you put all of that together and put it into like a 3-dimensional view, you can really see the associations very, very easily. And those associations then drives us for targeting for the future. So That's the key point there.
Okay. Now, following your recent financing tranche, I do believe you had a component of that inflow through. Can you maybe walk us through your share structure, how that capital is being deployed, and even the dilution versus value creation part of where that money is going?
Yeah, so the flow through is welcome because it allows us to focus the exploration, especially if we're getting Ontario flow through, we can spend it on our Ontario project, and the same with BC. So, what we'd ideally like to get is about 75% of our money as flow through and 25% as hard dollars or non-flow through dollars. And we do need to operate the company, and we can't use the flow through for that. So, running a public company these days, I mean, it does take some money to do that. So we need to have a non-flow through portion for that. So that's how we sort of allocate flow through and non-flow through. And as I mentioned before, we try to keep dilution down. So we're not going to go out and raise $10 million at our current share price. I mean, the whole plan is to, with a certain amount of exploration, sequential exploration, it increases interest in the company, it increases our share price, and then we can go and do smaller strategic financings as we grow the company. And currently now, as I mentioned, we're just around 40 million shares outstanding, and we'd like to keep that, relatively small. But the reality is, of course, we have to go and raise money to do our exploration. So value creation is really, as I mentioned, you get enough money to do your program, prioritize your targets so that your program is going to create value, and then your share price goes up and your shareholders are happy.
Right. Well, aside from your recent financing tranche, you folks did just receive funding from OJEP, which is Ontario Junior Exploration Program. Congratulations on that. And that is for Centerfire specifically. Can you talk to us a little bit about that program and where that money and the capital is earmarked to be deployed?
Sure. And for your listeners and viewers who are familiar with OJEP, it's an Ontario government program. And it's designed to help the smaller companies like Cascade with a market cap of just 1.5. We applied for a program of about $100,000 to $120,000. And what the OJEP does is it basically gives you half of that. So, it's non-dilutive for the company, so it's great. So basically, OJEP would give us about $50,000 or thereabouts as a reimbursement. So when you do that, you basically propose a program to OJEP and you say, this is what we'd like to do. This is the budget. And they're very good at following up with that and making sure that, you're doing the right thing and it makes sense. So we had earmarked an airborne geophysics program to go with the OJEP grant. And we've just completed that, and we're just getting the results in now. So the viewers, please pay attention that there could be a press release coming out soon on the results of that program. So it was very helpful. It allowed us to get the work done. It was flown earlier this year, earlier in April, I believe. Yeah, so very current, and it should be very, very useful for us moving forward on picking targets at Centerfire. So it was good.
Nice. Well, I mean, I can imagine that was extremely helpful, and we're teasing a little bit of news there. So everyone keep an eye open for that. Going back to one of your previous slides, where your properties are located, obviously safe jurisdictions in Canada, close by familiar names. If people are familiar with the mining space, you're close by, Heritage, for instance. What do you see for the future in terms of consolidation or partnerships with other juniors or majors in the areas that you're operating?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the reality is that juniors are, a lot of them are just really kind of at the bottom of the food chain. And when money gets deployed into the markets, the juniors are sort of the last ones to get it. So it's not easy, but when you do have good projects, it seems to attract some money. I think Cascade's sort of business plan really is to increase the value of our projects to the time or to place where there could be, a mid-tier or major investment at some level. Because we have 5 different projects, optioning one or even 2 of them to a mid-tier or major could be a great opportunity for us and our shareholders. That way, the projects are advanced without dilution to the company. The project itself gets diluted as the partner spends money. So that is more what we're in tune for. And then obviously, if we end up hitting a big one, then a complete buyout of the company could be a potential exit strategy for everybody. But I think a merger situation maybe not so good because a couple of companies with not a lot of capital with lots of assets still struggles to raise proper amount of money. So I think that's probably lesser or lower down in our priority list.
Now, looking for those option partners, is that something you're actively looking at, or are you still seeing that for some time in the future?
No, I think it's something that we've always left the door open for that kind of thing. For instance, at the PDAC this year, we had quite a bit of good response for our Copper Plateau project, and we had some majors and mid-tier companies come in and basically were quite keen to look at our data at least. So we have signed a couple of confidentiality agreements, open the data room door, and we'll see what happens from there.
Awesome. Something else to look forward to with you folks.
Yes.
I do want to get a question in from Rock, who is on the line. They say you mentioned some drilling was going to happen soon. When and which site, and how much drilling into what depth is planned?
Yeah, Rock sounds like he's a drilling contractor. But yes, drilling is planned for Copper Plateau, which is the BC mid-southern area, and also for Centerfire, which is the Ontario project. Now there's permitting and so on, and First Nations consultation and so on. We've started on all of that. We have a good rapport with First Nations in both areas. And obviously we want to work with them and help them out, and they want to help us out as well. So far so good with, being collaborative on that aspect. Permitting is underway in both areas, and it just, it takes some time to get the permitting through. BC, I think they've stepped up their permitting timelines a little bit better than what they have in the past. Ontario is generally about 45 days. So, that is in place. Once it's done, then we're have the ability to drill when we're ready, so that's kind of what the timeline is right now.
Okay. Well, you did tease some news that's coming up. There's a lot on the horizon for you folks. I will encourage anybody who is watching live or on the replay, head over to cascadecopper.com, sign up for the mailing list, be the first to know when things are going on. And of course, if you have questions, the contact page is there for communication with the management team. All that being said, Jeff, I'll leave last comments to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Nicole. It was a pleasure presenting today, and I look forward to a few more if that's possible. And I encourage people, as you say, to go to our website, cascadecopper.com, and sign up for newsletters. We're very good at communicating what's going on, and also like to mention that we're still in a financing at the moment. So if anybody's interested in flow through or non-flow through, please get in touch. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks to everyone who joined us live and who's watching on the replay. We'll talk to you soon. We'll for sure be doing this again.